I will tell you, and I can show you under slow motion that the chopper spinner toss can be unaffected by the alligators. I've seen my throw hit the alligators and be completely unaffected by it because they actually keep my spin.
Okay,
And when I
keep
saw
going.
that, I was like, wow, there was the aha moment. I'm like, I'm never changing.
So I know you're an analytical kind of guy. If you ever talk about,
Mm.
when you're at the tables, you're always talking about your statistics, your odds
Yep.
of winning and what you're playing. When you're walking up to the table, what's your idea of walking up to the table? What's your approach? Typically what's kind of bankroll and what kind of system
Mm.
are you going to play? And is it based on what kind of bankroll or how the tables are rolling?
Yeah, you know what's funny is you call me the professor and people think I'm this math wizard or something. I'm really not. And I don't play that way. Typical buy for me is 500 to 1,000. This depends on what I've got. And I'll give you an example. I flew into Vegas this past week, and I've got, of course, a load of money in the bank, and I'm in my wallet that I travel with, $750. That's what I had from the last session. I finished off here in Seattle. It was in my wallet. I showed up. My goal is always to buy in with that 750 and use that same 750 as at every table I go to.
Right.
Like turn the 750 into 850, cool. Stash the hundo, right? Go back and do it again and again and again. So my bankroll, and if I happen to have a great session and turn the 750 into 1,500, well, guess what? My next buy-in's 1,000.
Of course.
Right? But I'm not going to the bank if I don't have to, right? I'm not going to jump in and force $1,000 buy-in. I'm going to take what I've kind of predisposed to do. Do I chart a table? No. Do I apply analytics to what I see at the table happening? No. I got my ways that I play. And typically speaking, and I hate to say the word random rollers, but on people I don't know, we'll call it that, people I don't know that are not familiar to John, because I don't know what they throw or how they throw. The ways that I play on those people is typically the horseman. I'll go a little bit of don't pass,
Okay.
come bets, or I'll do a little 6, 7, 8. So it's always a don't pass. And when I want to be really respectful of my bankroll, like if I'm down a little bit or whatever, it's the horseman because it's come bets. I can double up on the 7 early. I can get a couple of cheap, especially $10 table, $25 don't, 3 $10 come bets. I can get into that game really cheap. If the person happens to go off, that's great. I'm going to make some money on those come bets, right?
Okay.
If they happen to not go off, I'm fine on my don't pass and my couple of come. I'm going to walk out of there with a $25 chip and live to fight the next guy, right? I'm typically not all across
Okay.
on the random people, and I'm typically not just 6 and 8 on the random people either, because and we'll talk more about this later on, but my opinion on people I don't know is I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do. They could throw a bunch of horn numbers. They could throw a bunch of nines. How do you know what's going to happen if they're just hucking and chucking, right?
You don't.
For that respect, I like a don't pass. I like a little bit of come betting because it covers me on a lot of things. And if they happen to be great, great. If they happen to not be great, I'm fine. On people I know that I played with before, I know their tendencies, what trends they can find themselves into, what trends I can create. Now I bet differently. And that's going to be more of an across style. I'm very much more an across style. I might even do a little bit iron cross in there.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
I think you just lost a little bit of the audience when you said that, right?
It's all right.
So you said two words that
Mhm.
triggered. You said come bets and you said
Yep.
field bet. So that's two things that I typically stay away from
Yeah.
at any
The
point in time.
worst thing you can do, right? Come betting and the iron cross in the field. They aren't bad bets if you use them tactically. And here's where the math guy comes in, right? Tactically, they make sense if you play them right, right? Going out with a come bet with max odds is what all the books tell you to do, right? Mathematical best way to play. For me, it's a careful move. It's a way to slip in, right? On a random person you don't know. It's an easy $10 bet because they throw a bunch of crap, right? They throw a bunch of crap, you lose $10, so what? If they happen to set a number, great. If they 7 out, which they probably will do earlier, I'll take that win. And so to me, the come bet is not going after the win like the books will tell you. The come bet to me is a safety play early. It's a don't pass and a come, that's $35 or $45 or whatever I'm doing there. I'm going after that early roll. And if they get past the early stage, good for them. Congratulations, clap them up, and let's go make some money. Right now, we'll play those come bets through and hopefully turn that into a good roll. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for that person to go crazy. I'm looking for them to keep me alive. If they go crazy, and again, people all the time catch a crazy roll, it's all good. I can make those 3 come bets sing if they get repeated on. So I'll transition to place bets and I'll start pressing from there. But that's how I don't analyze anything at a table. I literally go up there and I say, if I don't know you, it's the horseman. If I do know you, it's probably in a cross. It might be an iron cross to get me out in 2 rolls or less. And that's exactly how I approach it.
What if you're the shooter? How do things change? I mean, are you confident? And we'll get into the dice control in a few minutes. But are you confident enough? Let's talk about it.
I'm not. I'm an okay shooter. Like there's the way that I throw the chopper toss. It's a very it's like dating a redhead, that throw. Mm-hmm. Like there are days where you want to call all your friends and say, "What did I just do, baby? Let me tell you a story." And there are days when you go, "What the hell did I just do to myself?" Like you know what I mean? Yep. Like it's hit or miss. So on myself, I don't always know how it's going to be that day. Like the mechanics can be great. It's sensitive toss, right? So I typically go in my first throw pretty carefully. You know, sometimes from the don't, but if not, it's a minimum pass line bet, and you know it's an inside play, not so much an across play. Just until I see what I got. I like the iron cross on myself because it covers me on 2 or 3 shots as I'm seeing what I'm doing today. And some days it's PSO, it's a PSO, and it's a PSO, right? In my practice sessions here at the house, what I find is 3 times I get I'll PSO 3-4 times in a row in the morning.
Right.
And then I jump in and catch that 30 roller, that 25, and I'm on rhythm. At a real table, that could take an hour between shots. Yeah. And you just don't know. So I treat myself like I'm the worst shooter there. And I like to ease into my throws. It bites me sometimes because I come out with a great throw sometimes, and I'm not always on it. But I got you got to see what you're doing. And I would rather be careful than crazy.
So I'm going to kind of dig into that a little bit, because you do throw a lot on your show. You throw a lot of tosses every single day.
Yeah.
And you try out different sets to try to figure out what's working for you. I know you do talk about this topper toss. And while we wasn't going to go there yet, but we're there now. So let's talk about it.
Okay.
So you don't throw a typical set of dice. You throw a stacked style. It's called the chopper toss.
Yep.
Why did you transition? Where did it come from? Why did you even transition to that versus just a traditional?
Okay, so for my most of my adult life, and actually from when I first started playing craps, I never was a shake 'em and bake 'em guy, right? I was also never a dice setter. I watched guys do it and they annoyed me, right? Because it is because like get on with it already, right? And when you're going up, then when I got on YouTube, and I started doing my own channel, and you start seeing, you're watching every video you can get your hands on. And I'm going, oh, that's really what they're trying to do. Like now I start watching guys like Ed, and other players who are George breaking this thing down. Like now I really understand what the sets are trying to do. Then I got into it. Unfortunately, and I can do a par toss. I have a par toss in my arsenal. I do. And I actually broke it out in Vegas because I needed to change things up. But my shoulder, I've had 5 shoulder surgeries. So the par toss for me, when you're up there and you got your wrist turn, like that turning of the wrist rotates the shoulder underneath, hurts. And actually, it's pretty painful. And when I go to extend my arm, I really feel it. When I get past parallel, it really stings. And I thought, this is stupid. I go back to rhythm throwing. I'm just gonna, just knuckleball them in there and try and be careful with the dice. I saw a Cage video and I'm like, what's that guy doing? Like it was, and I started, he doesn't talk, in his videos. And I start watching him like, that looks interesting. And I just picked the dice up, I stacked them and I tried it. And the first time I threw it, they spun. And I'm like, holy crap, that's pretty cool. And it didn't hurt because my hand was straight instead of turned. And that little quarter turn actually made a difference for me. That's why I got the toss in. Cage throws the toss because he got a jacked up pinky. He's got like really bad arthritis. And couldn't do a par toss anymore. Same thing. He had to transition out of it. And I found that I was better accurate with it. I could find my landing spot. I can control and one of my students at the time was a physics, she has a PhD in physics, and she looked at both tosses under slow motion. And she goes, that horizontal spin's the way to go. It's the only way that physics works. She says that horizontal spin, the dice will stay on the horizontal axis as they're spinning through contact, through contact, and through contact. She said you can get 3 points of contact and still have your dice spinning. That's how physics will help you, not hurt you. The other way, you're fighting physics on every point of contact.
Especially if it hits that back wall, right?
Totally. Now, the other toss, Cage will tell you, and the other guys will tell you, the par toss is more thick with numbers.
Okay.
In general, because of the way that they plan for the outcomes to happen. Which again, I don't throw it enough to really have studied how that works, but it works for them, right? The chopper toss works for me in the way that I've thrown it and learned how to throw it, and have been practicing throwing it. I'm keeping that gyroscopic action going, and for me, it just works, and it's comfortable. The main thing is that it's comfortable.
Well, the problem that I see, I will try to practice, from my spot that I like to shoot from, but most of the time you're not getting your spot. So you could do all the practicing you want to and all the playing, but what if you're at spot 2, 3, 4, or what if you're at the hook? How does that approach change? Is it really considered
different? Yeah, and every table's different. Like for example, at the Sahara this weekend,
different.
I got my spot. I was a stick left 1 almost the whole time. Right. The problem is at stick left 1, if I could, let's pretend this is the table, right? There's like a little lip where the stick person stands, right? So when I was throwing, my elbow kept hitting that damn lip because it actually was over the table a good inch or two. So I took stick left 2, so I would avoid the lip. Now it puts me, 2.5 feet farther away. Yeah. Changed everything. Yeah. And so I made some adjustments to it. But I think the question you're asking here, does dice control exist? I've always been triggered by that question. Because, does Santa Claus exist? No, right? Does Easter Bunny? No. Does God exist? Right? Those things you can't quantify exist or not. To me, the right question is dice control possible?
Right.
Right? Do you believe it can be done? Not do you believe that it's even a thing in the world? That's, I think, where I think a lot of folks, that's where this happens in this argument. It's not whether it exists or not. It's whether you believe somebody can do it or not. And I played with people and I've watched them throw, and damn it, if they can't do it. I'm watching people and they are freaking good at the dice, and they get thick. I over the weekend, I watched 100+ people throw. Every random person was all over the horn. All of the people that I knew could throw were in the box, right? They weren't on my numbers, but they were in the box, right? It's just it's a thing. It's a mysterious thing. It works.
Well, so the other part of that is, and I'm going to continue that argument as well, is, and I think I've said this before, is every table is structurally different, right? They have different bounces. Again, for the difference between the pass line and the actual where the alligator grid starts, you really have to know your spot and know exactly how hard you're going to throw it, how it's going to bounce, and you actually have to practice on that table before you can really understand what that table is doing. If you are trying to set dice, right?
To some degree, if you think you can cherry pick a number, then you're right. But generally speaking, the table's going to have some level of bounce to it. They're all different heights, depths. Everything is different. It's all, to me, about rhythm. You find your grip, you find your center, you get your rhythm, you do your thing, and you can make micro adjustments as you go. And it's not like enormous adjustments. It's an inch or two here or there. It's a little bit of height difference. It's the rate of spin. There's things you can change to adjust in there. This is where the guys who have been doing this for years and years and years can draw on that experience. Where guys like me are like, it ain't happening tonight. I'm doing something totally different, right? And there it is. Dice control is not a thing. Influence is real. And like I said, the follow-up question is, can you do it? Do you believe people can pull it off? Right? And I think there's where the debate goes. And the people will say the alligator skins negate all that. I will tell you, and I can show you under slow motion, that the chopper spinner toss can be unaffected by the alligators. I've seen my throw hit the alligators and be completely unaffected by it because they actually keep my spin. Okay. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, there was the aha moment. I'm like, I'm never changing, Now, never. There are days where I suck eggs and I went to the par toss and just changed it up, right? Just to get something different going. But yeah, for sure. You could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, but
I love every second of it, right?
I just don't like the word exists, because exists sounds like it's fantasy land, and it's not fantasy land. It's whether or not you have the skill to do it.